A new resident moves into a quiet city neighborhood, hoping to finally find a home. But a local police officer sees her as a threat, not a neighbor. What happens next is shocking and completely changes his life forever. The city's east side had been changing. Brick row houses stood beside sleek coffee shops, and the smell of fresh paint mixed with the faint tang of street grime. Progress for some, pressure for others. And in the middle of this uneasy balance lived Maya Brooks. Maya, 34, carried boxes into her brownstone. The interior was imperfect peeling paint, creaking floors, but it was hers. After years of rented apartments, she finally had a place to call her own. Her mornings consisted of coffee, jogging through the nearby park, and tending her small garden filled with lavender and marigolds. Dean Harper, mid-40s, watched her from his driveway. A long-serving city cop, Harper believed his badge meant ownership. Every unfamiliar face moving into his block was a potential threat to his order. He lived alone, drank beer in his garage, and let authority define his life. On a bright Saturday, Maya was watering her garden when Harper approached. "Harper, you renting or buying?" Maya, "Buying." Harper, "Didn't think folks like you could afford places around here." Maya, "Folks like me?" Harper, "You know, city's changing. Used to be a decent block." Maya, "It's still quiet." Her calm refusal to be rattled pushed Harper's temper. He stepped closer. "Harper, you might want to remember this isn't the South Side. People keep things in order here. We don't want trouble." Maya, "I didn't come here for trouble. Just a home." Harper snorted and walked away, muttering under his breath. The next morning, Maya found a citation on her door, improper waste disposal, signed by Harper. She let it go, paying the fine online. But it was just the beginning. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next. Have you ever witnessed an act of kindness that completely changed your perspective? Share your story in the comments below. The week after moving in, Maya's routine became her refuge. She woke early, brewed coffee, and tended to her small front garden with deliberate care. Lavender and marigolds, the colors muted under the morning sun, swayed gently in the light breeze. Each plant was a small victory, a reminder that she had claimed something of her own, a quiet corner of the world that belonged to her. From across the street, Dean Harper watched. Leaning against his mailbox, his pale eyes scanned her every move. To him, the calm precision of her work wasn't peaceful, it was defiance. She wasn't intimidated, she didn't flinch. Every deliberate gesture, every gentle touch to her flowers, was a reminder that she refused to yield to his presence. One sweltering afternoon, the tension broke. Harper approached, off-duty, a half-empty beer in his hand, and a smirk stretched across his broad face. "Harper, still haven't learned your place, huh?" Maya, "Excuse me?" Harper, "You people always act like you own everything once you get a little ahead. I've seen your type before. Think you can walk into a good neighborhood and start changing it." Maya, "Officer, I don't know what you think I've done," but before she could finish, he tipped the beer into her flower bed. Muddy water ran over the roots of her lavender. She froze, stunned. Her small garden, which had been a source of calm and pride, was instantly desecrated. Then, without warning, Harper picked up her garden hose. The cold water hit her chest, soaking her dress and plastering it to her skin. Shock gave way to humiliation, yet she didn't scream. She didn't fight. She simply stood, her hands gripping the porch railing as the water streamed down, tracing the boundary between their properties, a literal line separating harassment from dignity. The delivery driver who had come with a package stood frozen, unsure if he should intervene. Harper, satisfied, smirked and walked back across the street. His power, which had felt absolute, had been exercised, and yet it achieved nothing but temporary satisfaction. Later that evening, Maya documented the event. She took photos, wrote a calm statement, and filed a formal complaint online. Officer Dean Harper, badge number 2174, engaged in unprovoked harassment. She didn't expect much. People like Harper had layers of protection, shields no ordinary citizen could pierce, but Maya had an advantage. Her brother, Anthony, was an investigative journalist, a man who spent years uncovering the truth in neighborhoods like theirs. When she showed him the video captured by her security system, his face shifted from concern to determination. Anthony, this isn't just a story. This is evidence. This is accountability. We can make them see it. Maya, I don't want to humiliate him. I just want him to stop. Within days, Anthony's newsroom published the footage. The headline was impossible to ignore. Off-duty officer harasses new black resident. Social media erupted. Neighborhood groups shared the story. Public outrage was immediate. Harper's police station released a statement calling it a regrettable incident under review, but whispers in the community carried a different message. Maya, ever composed, continued her routine. She watered her plants carefully, tying the stems of her marigolds back together. She waved to neighbors, who now returned her smiles. She jogged through the park, noticing the subtle change in people's eyes, their recognition of courage. She hadn't shouted, she hadn't pleaded, yet her calm resistance had begun to ripple outward. What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible courage and resilience living under such intimidation? How would you support them? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Sometimes strength is quiet. Sometimes the most powerful acts of resistance are measured, composed, and deliberate. Maya's story is just beginning, and the world around her was about to be forced to notice. In the weeks following the viral incident, the neighborhood slowly began to shift. Maya's daily routines, watering her garden, jogging through the park, and smiling at familiar faces, became small acts of courage in themselves. Each wave she received from a neighbor who once ignored her felt like a quiet victory. Anthony visited frequently, monitoring the fallout from the story and offering guidance. He helped Maya navigate the bureaucratic machinery of the Civilian Review Board, ensuring her evidence was thorough, clear, and undeniable. The footage of Harper's harassment, combined with past complaints and eyewitness accounts, painted a damning picture. Anthony, they can't ignore this. Not now, but we have to be patient. Change doesn't happen overnight. Maya, I just want them to see what happened. I don't want to fight a war. Anthony, sometimes standing firm is the fight. And you're already winning. Despite the growing support, Harper didn't relent. His attempts to intimidate Maya and the community continued. Subtle at first, parking his cruiser too close to her driveway, issuing minor citations for absurd violations, and showing up at the edges of neighborhood gatherings. Each small act was designed to unsettle her. Maya noticed it, but she refused to respond with fear. She documented everything meticulously, knowing that the truth, combined with patience, would be her ally. Her calm resilience began to inspire others. Neighbors who had once been hesitant to intervene began speaking up. A group of residents drafted letters to the Police Oversight Board, while others quietly left notes of support in Maya's mailbox. The community's response was small, but collectively it began to create a protective network around her, yet there were moments of doubt. Late at night, Maya would sit on her porch, the sounds of distant traffic and children's laughter mixing with the anxiety of what Harper might do next. Her hands rested on the railing, and she wondered if standing firm could truly make a difference. Anthony always reminded her, Anthony, courage isn't about being fearless. It's about taking action even when fear is there. The tension reached a peak one evening when minor vandalism appeared near Maya's property, plants trampled, a window smudged with mud. She reviewed the security footage, but there was no definitive proof. Harper had become careful, testing the boundaries without leaving obvious evidence. Still, Maya's inner strength grew. Every act of intimidation she endured reinforced her resolve. The neighborhood began to notice her composure. Children waved more confidently. Neighbors greeted her with small acts of kindness, a shared coffee, a brief conversation about her garden, a nod of solidarity. The message was clear: courage and dignity inspire community, even in the face of adversity. As the investigation progressed, Harper's influence waned. News coverage detailed the public outrage, the complaint filing, and the mounting evidence against him. People began to see that the badge he wielded could not protect him from accountability. Maya, once quiet and reserved, found herself at the center of a story that extended beyond her own life. The neighborhood's support became a shield, and Anthony's careful reporting amplified her voice. Every small act of kindness, every nod of approval, every wave from a child jogging by her street, became part of a larger narrative, a narrative that proved standing firm in the face of harassment could spark change. Have you ever had to overcome obstacles to help someone you cared about or to stand up for what was right? What challenges did you face? Share your experiences below. I read every comment. Through patience, courage, and unwavering dignity, Maya's story shows that obstacles are not just challenges, they are opportunities for growth, trust, and connection. The neighborhood was slowly learning that small acts of solidarity can create a ripple effect of change that no single act of intimidation can stop. As weeks turned into months, the evidence against Dean Harper became overwhelming. Maya's calm resilience and Anthony's meticulous reporting exposed not only the incident in her garden but a long history of misconduct. Harper's power, once absolute on Jefferson Avenue, began to crumble under the weight of public scrutiny. Maya continued her daily routines, each action reinforcing her quiet strength. She tended to her lavender and marigolds, watching the stems grow stronger and fuller with each passing day. Jogging through the park, she noticed neighbors whispering, pointing, nodding, but now with respect. Children waved to her, their small gestures carrying messages of admiration for the dignity she had shown. The community rallied further. Neighbors shared statements with the Civilian Review Board, signed petitions, and submitted photos and videos documenting Harper's intimidation. Their small, collective acts of courage created a powerful counterweight to Harper's attempts at control. Meanwhile, Harper tried to reclaim authority. He filed appeals, sent legal threats, and made subtle gestures of intimidation in the neighborhood. Yet his efforts were futile. News headlines detailed the investigation's progress, each report painting him as a man unable to wield power responsibly. His isolation grew, neighbors avoiding him, the once commanding presence reduced to a figure of frustration. Finally, the verdict arrived. Harper was terminated from the police force. The Civilian Review Board's report cited multiple complaints, video evidence, and testimony from witnesses. His attempts to appeal were met with the damning record of his misconduct, ensuring that he could no longer intimidate residents with impunity. Maya's victory was quiet. She did not celebrate with fanfare or boast in public. Accountability was her reward. Her courage and integrity had turned humiliation into a demonstration of strength, inspiring those around her. Without a single shout, the street began to thrive. Children played freely, laughter echoing down Jefferson Avenue. Harper's old house sold to a young couple with a baby. Gardens flourished. Flowers bloomed where once tension had hung heavy. Maya's own garden now stood as a symbol of endurance, resilience, and renewal. Maya reflected on the journey. The water that once hit her chest, humiliating and cold, now ran along the same path, clear, steady, and shimmering under sunlight. She no longer flinched at the memory. Instead, it reminded her that dignity and perseverance could transform even the darkest moments into lessons of strength. The transformation was not just in Maya's life but in the entire neighborhood. People who had once watched in silence now acted in solidarity. Community members offered support to each other in small, meaningful ways, inspired by the courage Maya had shown. The ripple effect of kindness and resilience was clear. One person's unwavering calm had encouraged an entire community to recognize the power of standing up with dignity and supporting each other. This story shows how one act of courage can transform an entire community. What's one way you could make a difference in someone's life today? Share your commitment in the comments below. Through patience, courage, and persistent dignity, Maya turned a moment of humiliation into a story of empowerment and community renewal. The street that once carried fear now echoed with hope, laughter, and life. Months had passed since the incident that had shaken Jefferson Avenue. Maya Brooks continued to live in her brownstone, tending her garden with care and watching the neighborhood flourish. The lavender and marigolds she planted had grown thick and vibrant, spilling gently over the edge of her small fence. A visible sign of endurance and patience, her brother Anthony continued his investigative work, inspired by the way Maya had faced harassment with calm courage. The story of Harper's termination had reached other neighborhoods, sparking conversations about accountability and respect. People realized that even one person's resilience could ignite change far beyond a single block. The community itself had changed. Families who had been hesitant to interact now shared conversations across fences, exchanged small favors, and supported each other in ways both big and small. Children played freely in the streets, and neighbors worked together on communal gardens and projects. Where fear had once lingered, hope now took root. Maya reflected quietly on what had happened. She did not boast or celebrate. She did not seek recognition. Instead, she focused on the present, the life she had claimed through dignity and perseverance. The memory of Harper's cold water, once a symbol of humiliation, had transformed into a symbol of resilience. Maya voiceover, it's not about winning. It's about accountability. Justice isn't victory, it's repair. Even Harper's house, once a source of tension and intimidation, had been sold to a young couple eager to start their own life in the neighborhood. His absence was a reminder that the past could be left behind, replaced by something better, something nurtured. Like the gardens along the avenue, the ripple effect continued. Inspired by Maya, neighbors began helping each other in small ways, shoveling snow for elderly residents, sharing meals, and offering encouragement. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, had the power to reshape the community. This story reminds us that human kindness, courage, and dignity can reshape the world around us. Standing firm in the face of injustice, combined with patience and community support, creates lasting impact. Compassion, courage, and everyday acts of kindness are tools each of us can use to make a difference. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness exists all around us. If this touched your heart, please like this video. It helps more people discover these inspiring stories. Subscribe for more tales of human kindness that restore your faith in humanity. Most importantly, look for opportunities in your own life to be someone's unexpected blessing. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Share it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And remember, you have the power to change someone's entire world.